My name is Tammy Miller, and I am here with Heidi Atchison, who is a teacher at Bedford Middle School. And you can see we're actually in a classroom, and some of her work with Readable English is behind us on the bulletin board. We thought it would be fun to come together from a classroom and do it, authentically today. However, I will tell you, we have had a lot of technical difficulties making all of this work, but I think we've got it now. I think we've figured it out. So really excited to talk to all of you. I'm a long-term veteran here of education, and I've done just about all the jobs. And most of my career in education, I've really, as an administrator, as a teacher, I was always focused on reading and literacy. Because I figured out really early on, if they can't read, they can't do a whole lot. And then I was introduced to Readable English about 5 years ago, and it changed my life, and it's been changing the life of many teachers and students since we've been able to get it out there into the hands of those who need it the most. So we'll go ahead and get started. And we decided, you need to know, by the way, that Heidi and I, even though we are sitting next to each other, which was not our original plan, but is by default because of our technology, we have both received both of our vaccinations. So we are good. We are good. And Heidi's going to pull up for us now the presentation. And yes, you are at the right place if you have signed up for Are You Desperate to Get Your Kids Reading? And I'm guessing that many of you are desperate to get your kids reading, or you wouldn't have signed up for this today. And I'm so glad that you did. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially on a Monday, to tune in and see what you can learn. So are you willing to try something new? I sure hope so, because if we keep doing what we've always done, we're probably always going to get the same results. And what we know, most of us as teachers know, that we're not getting all those kids to grade level. So I'm going to challenge you to keep your mind open and be accepting and willing to learn something that we could do differently to help our kids and actually get them there a lot faster. So Readable English, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview for people that might not have seen the earlier presentations about Readable English. But as you look at the top, you see what we call the Readable English font. Letters are grayed out or shadowed. Those are letters that are not pronounced. And then you see the dots, and those are actually chunks, pronunciation chunks in the way that we actually pronounce the word. And then you see some symbols above a few of the letters. Those symbols tell us the sound that the letter makes, and we call them glyphs. This is the built-in pronunciation guide that comes in every word inside the Readable English font. And this is what breaks the code so that we can build that pronunciation guide into every word, and the students can then pronounce the word correctly the first time. It provides the tools to read the grade level content and to eliminate those knowledge gaps. You're going to learn more about how we do that. It also improves the reading comprehension. As students have more word accuracy, their word volume goes up. If your word volume's going up, your comprehension is going up. So having all three of those happening simultaneously is like gold for learning how to read. I'm going to show you just a 1 minute and 45-second video to give you that background knowledge of how Readable English actually works. She said she couldn't hear it. We just stop. So, Marianne, were you able to hear the sound? No?
No.
Okay.
Let me try. Let's try sharing again. Okay. Sorry, that's my fault.
Just pick up where it left off, you think?
If I can.
On it.
Well, they didn't see the beginning, so they haven't seen it.
Yes, now you can
For
hear
example,
it. Okay.
Okay, let's start it over.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I think we've got it now.
one of the hardest things about learning to read English is that so many words are not pronounced the way they are spelled. That's because some letters are silent, like in these words. And letters that are pronounced can make any number of sounds. Take the letter U. It can make 7 different sounds. The question then becomes, how do we know when a word is going to say one thing or another? Readable English removes the difficulties of learning to read in English with 3 simple steps. First, words are broken up into readable chunks. Then, the letters that are not pronounced are simply grayed out, keeping the spelling intact. And lastly, when a letter makes a sound other than its usual sound, we put a glyph on it. For example, when C says S instead of its usual sound K, we put the glyph silly C on it, like in the words sell and ice. These 3 simple steps mean you can instantly sound out and learn the right pronunciation for any word in English.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi. So we'll just go to the next slide. So what's happening here is basically everything is being integrated for the student. They've often spent a lot of time as independent readers trying to pronounce words that they can't pronounce. So in this example that you see in the video, the word light, without the grayed out letters and the glyph, a student might say ligget. But with the glyph and the grayed out letters, the student knows the word is light. So with that, the student can now pronounce it correctly and hear it inside their brain correctly, because inside our brains, we're connecting to meaning. So once we have all of that accuracy, pronunciation, all coming together, we connect to meaning. That's how we get the word accuracy. Students quickly build confidence using this system because they haven't had that kind of opportunity in the past to break the code. And I know Marianne told me this 2 years ago. Marianne's one of our guests today. Lots of teachers and principals will comment early on when they start using the system, the glyphs, that students will say to them, I can read now. And it's really because they are starting to get word accuracy due to the built-in pronunciation guide. So when you take a look at this pronunciation chart here, you see the international alphabet on the far left. I can't pronounce any of those myself. How about you, Heidi?
No.
Nope. The one in the middle, maybe I can get some, but look at the far right, Readable English. The spelling is kept intact and I can pronounce it correctly. So if I'm pronouncing it correctly the first time, I'm growing my word volume in the long-term memory so that I can pull it up for fluency and comprehension. Just as a quick glimpse, these are the 21 Readable English glyphs. If you look down the left-hand side, you see that they each have a fun name, kind of like a mnemonic name. Look right in the middle at happy face. When you see happy face, you look to the right and you see I, Y, and E. Above those 3 letters is the happy face symbol above each of them. That's because anytime you see the symbol, even if it's above an I or a Y or an E, it always makes the E sound. It's always going to be the same, no exception. So it's really a genius format that students only have to know those 21 glyphs, and they're always the same, no exceptions, which is unlike how we've been teaching kids to read with all the exceptions and the oddballs that show up. This is what makes the secret sauce possible. This is what we call the conversion tool. Inside our website, there is a conversion tool. Heidi's going to hopefully be able to demonstrate that for you today. And immediately, text that's either textbooks, digital materials that students have received for instruction, Newsella, lots of different types of things can be put in the conversion tool. You can go on the internet, pull any article or any print off and put it in, or you might already have it downloaded into your computer, or you might have it in an e-library that's just for Readable English, as some of our schools have done with their textbooks. Then this becomes a part of the integrated instruction to grow the word volume and increase that word accuracy very, very fast. That's how the conversion tool works, and it allows students to very quickly read grade level content. Once they know this system, they can begin to put science and social studies, math directions, reading materials, novels, anything can go in the conversion tool that will help grow their academic vocabulary, their understanding of content, and most importantly, their comprehension of all of it. So Readable English does boost that reading growth, and it covers all the essential components of reading. It includes the phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and spelling. And all the while, it's increasing the word accuracy, the word recognition, reading volume, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So that's a quick and dirty overview of Readable English, and I'm going to turn it over to Heidi, who's going to tell you what it's like to teach Readable English and how she goes about it as a teacher.
This is definitely the quick and dirty version. Lots of things to talk about, and we're just going to kind of do an overview. So we focus on 5 steps when we're teaching and implementing Readable English. The first one is we teach the 21 glyphs. And we want to do that as quickly as possible because the real magic with Readable English happens when students are using it to do their reading. So we teach the 21 glyphs as quickly as possible. It can be done in 4 to 5 weeks easily, learning 3 glyphs at a time. And then we start using the glyphs to read with these word attack practices. So we're working on integrating the glyphs into their reading because students, if left to their own devices, will continue to just make guesses. And so we want them to use the glyphs and get that word volume built up. We also use some Fluency Builder tools because we want students to practice reading. So this is all about practicing reading using the Readable English markup. And once they're comfortable with that, we want them to be using the conversion tool because we want them to convert all of their stuff into Readable English so that they can understand it. We want them to convert math and science and social studies. And of course, we want them to be able to do it themselves because that would be a whole lot of work if I had to do all of the, conversions for all of my students. So we want them to be comfortable converting independently. So we're just going to take a real quick overview of some of the tools that are available on the Readable English website for teachers to teach Readable English. So I'm logged in as a Readable English teacher here, and everything is very cleanly put together for you. So step 1 is learning the glyphs. There is a weekly teaching schedule already put together for you. Tells you when to do what. Oh, I think I just logged myself out. That's okay, we'll just log back in. And I'm going to go to this first lesson, which is Happy Face, I Spy, and Hey April. Those are the first glyphs that students are going to learn. And there are just so many different options that you can use to teach the glyphs. Everything has been put together in a way that makes learning the glyphs sticky for students. So for each glyph, there is a video, which is an informational video. This just tells you about the glyph. It tells you what sound the glyph makes. And something that's really cool is that these aren't named by accident. Each glyph name has the sound of the glyph in it. So happy face makes the E sound. So it's really nice for students because you can really emphasize, remember, the sound of the glyph is in the name of the glyph. So there's an informational video. There's a song that students can learn.
Put on a happy face, ee.
And there is a body movement as well. Because we're tapping into all those different places in students' brains. They're listening to it, they're seeing it, and they're incorporating some kinesthetic movement. And these songs will be stuck in your head and you will sing them all the time. So we have, all of those components for each of the glyphs. Then when it's time to work with students, there are lots of choices. There are lots of different ways to get them to glyph mastery. There are worksheets. There are games that they can play. There are even some apps that you can download on your phone to get them using these glyphs. And here in this particular part of the website is where you're going to find the paper copy. So if you want students to have a physical copy of the worksheet, you can print those off. You can print off the games. This is the Be Happy board game. There's a tic-tac-toe game. There's a Connect 4 game. So you can, if you want to print, you are more than welcome to print those off. But if your students have devices, we now have those things online. So we have the worksheets online. And again, it's easily categorized here. Lesson 1, Happy Face, I Spy, and Hey April. The Learn section is the stuff that we just looked at. It's the videos, reminding students what the sound of the glyph is and what the song and body movement is. And then there is a drill section, and that's where they're going to be using the glyphs. So here we're going to match, happy face is this one. It looks like, it's meant to look like a happy face. It's got, the 2 eyes and a nose there. So there are different exercises that students can do on those online worksheets. There are also online games. So if I go back to my home page, all of this is located under student exercises, and that heading is the same on the student website and on the teacher website. So they can click on the online games, and this is the exact same board game that I showed you the printout of earlier. Students using one device, so you put them in groups for this, they can roll the dice, and then they can place their marker. So in order to place their marker, they have to say the name of the glyph. So I would have to say E before I could place my token there. And then you can have your students help you make up some more interesting rules. My kids really enjoy making up rules to make the game a little bit more exciting. So those are the things that you can find on our website for phase 1. So you have lots of options to teach them the glyphs. When we get into the second step, which is the integrating readable English into their reading, getting them used to using the glyphs, having them focus on using those glyphs to pronounce unfamiliar words. Our lessons have 3 parts. We start off with a reading warm-up. Flip down to that slide. This is just one example of our reading warm-up. This is word strings. So it starts with one prefix, and we get students comfortable saying "de," and then we add a root after it. We also do word attack and sight word warm-ups. And once we have students warmed up, we can, again, go to the website, or you could print it off, but we have online worksheets and print worksheets for this second step for this integration. So I'm just going to scroll down to the phase 2. And in phase 2, there are 2 different kinds of worksheets. There are the integration worksheets, and those are ones that are focused on having students use the glyphs to say unfamiliar words. And then the decoding and encoding worksheets encourage students, so we have to, encourage students to learn some of those spelling rules so that they notice the patterns in words. And then the third part of that step 2, where we're getting students using the glyphs, is to do some reading. Oh, we're going to look at before we talk about that one, we're going to look at an example here of word attack practice.
Who wants to tell me the first one? First one, tell me the glyph, then say the sound. Bella, you ready?
Is the infinity one?
Infinity, yes.
Version. Version. Version.
Version. Fabulous, good job. Next one.
So now putting all this together, what's this word? I want everyone to be looking. I want you to be putting these syllables together. Jax?
Residential.
Residential.
All right, so that's just an example of a teacher using some of those exercises. The third thing that we do in that second step is we have students do Fluency Builders. So those are short reading passages, again, that are available on the website. And what we want students to be doing is, again, practicing and keeping track of their progress. So we use these, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We use these Fluency Builders to help students track their progress. So where I just clicked on there, once they've read their passage, you input that data, their number of words they read and how quickly they read them into the website. And it creates this really cool chart that you can see both on your end of the website, and students can also see on their website as well. So they can track that bar graph and see their progress.
The rest of the group delivers the work, or I'm very sure that's not delivers. It divides the work.
I love how you sounded that out. That was beautiful. Really.
And I just want to point out, notice that he knew he didn't say that correctly. He went back and he relied on the glyphs and he figured it out.
The rest of
You
the
want to show
group.
it, how to use the conversion tool? or-
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, that's our next thing. We're gonna show you how to use the conversion tool. It's very easy. So I'm gonna show you again on my teacher site. I'll go back to that home screen. And everything we've looked at so far has been under student exercises. This is under tools. And I'm just gonna click on conversion tool. There's 2 different ways that you can convert text. The first is the text conversion. And then there's also a document conversion. Since we don't have very much time, I'm going to just show you quickly how the text conversion works because it's really fast. So I'm going to open up the conversion tool, and I've already pulled up a Newsela article. My kids have been doing a lot of Newsela articles, and we've been converting those. So I'm just going to copy the title, and I'm going to make that my file name. This is how you're going to find it in your e-reader library. And I'm going to make it my heading as well, just because that makes a nice title in your document. Isn't that thing ugly?
It is ugly. What is that?
It's an African crested rat, which apparently has poison fur. So I thought that was a really interesting article to choose. So you can do this whole article. You can copy and paste all of this. And I'm just going to paste it into, looks beautiful. I left off the letter A. I'm just going to stick that in there real quick. And then I'm going to hit finish and convert. And it pops up in the e-reader library in Readable English. So now students who might otherwise have trouble reading it have that built-in pronunciation guide. They can also turn it into a PDF. When they're ready to find it again, they go to their e-reader library And crested rats will be there.
Presto, magic.
All right.
I don't know that we have time for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you want to go?
I think maybe just talking about getting them to do it independently.
So we also, do you want to show that video
Yeah.
of the student converting?
Sure.
So we also have a video because it is, it's easy. And again, we want students to be the ones who are doing these conversions. We have a video of a student doing a conversion and talking about how that works for him. I don't know.
Well, the volume is not there, so we'll stop. But the idea is our goal is for students to independently use the conversion tool. And students will say all the time that this is what they need in order to advance with their reading. So for example, we had a student who was a 6th grade special education student having his transition conference to go to middle school. And they asked him at the conference, what is it that you need to be successful next year? And he said, I need the conversion tool, and that's all I need. So it really empowers students, and they can advocate for themselves once they know what they need, and it's empowering for them. So I just wanted to share that. I know we're really low on time here, so I just want to try to, first thing I want to do is introduce a special guest. If you watch the video that we sent out with this invitation, then you would know Janice Castle. And Janice was one of our very first teachers to use Readable English 4 years ago. And I asked her if she would jump on here with us and just give you her own little testimonial of how this has been so life-changing for her.
Hi. So I don't like to public speak or anything, but Tammy always twists my arm, so I'm doing it. But yeah, so I started 4 years ago, and basically I was at the end of my rope as far as teaching, and kids just they weren't learning to read, and I couldn't in my own mind send them on to high school knowing that they couldn't read. And then I met Tammy, and then Readable English came up, and it's just been amazing. Like I said, this is my 4th year, and the kids grow between 1 to 5. I've had a couple grow 6 years in 1 year on their reading level, but it's just given me a purpose back, and the kids. The kids, when you can't read, they couldn't do anything, and so they always got in trouble, and they thought themselves as dumb, and so now they have confidence, and they know they can do it. So it's just amazing to watch them grow. And like I said, it's helped me, because now I can retire, but I don't want to, because I look forward to going to school every day, because I know I'm helping these kids to read. So it's huge. It's just impacted my life and all the kids that I've had, their lives. So it's amazing.
Janice, thank you. And I just have to tell everyone that Janice will always have a very special place in my heart, because she was willing to take that risk and be one of the first to put it in place. And 4 years later, lots of kids are reading now because of Janice and her courage. So I'm always indebted to you, and thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you.
So we want to finish up by giving you a special offer today and answering any questions that you have. If you could go back to the slideshow. Yeah. And scroll on.
Hold on, I need to present. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Keep going down there. Here, is this it? Yeah. So we wanted to let you know that oftentimes we come across teachers that they might not be able to figure out how they can get it into their school, but they really want to do it themselves. They want to learn about it. So we're offering a free training and coaching session for anyone who's interested in the Readable English program. This would include licensing for up to 5 students until September 1st of this year. So it would be from now until September 1st. You would be able to participate in 3 trainings, which would be about 1.5 hours for each of those sessions, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. You would also have some coaching sessions available to you to get that extra support and extra help as you're trying to utilize it and get comfortable with it. you would need to implement the program with fidelity, right? We would want you to get to the conversion tool and utilize the exercises that we have in the website to get that growth. And we also would have a pre and post testing tool that you would use with the students. So we would ask you to make that commitment, and then we would give you the free training and up to 5 licenses for students to be able to use for free. And we're going to be getting more information out to you so that you can sign up for this. But I also wanted to let anyone know that's on the call now, if you are a building administrator, a district administrator, or let's say you're at the state level, I did see some people who had signed up from the Department of Ed in a couple of states. You also are eligible for a special offer, different than this one. If you could please put in the chat box your name, who you're with, your email address, and if you want to add your cell phone, you can. We'll get back in touch with you ASAP to talk to you about what that special offer would be for you so that you can get going right away. And I think at this time we can look at the chat box and see if we've got any questions from anyone that we might want to take a look at. Yeah. You want to
Okay,
take
Sherry. Sherry asked if the vowels are not marked, then they know that they are short sound. So the only time that a readable English glyph is used is if a letter makes a sound other than its usual sound. So students should already know the standard sounds that consonants and vowels make, and then they would only see a glyph on letters where there's an exception.
Do you want to see if there's anything in the chat box? Yeah. I don't know if they were able to add to the chat box. Is it right here?
Here, let me stop sharing.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Chat.
How long does it take for students to transfer reading with glyphs to reading without them? So actually, it doesn't take long at all. They just need to get those glyphs and get that practice. And what we found is in our data, and we can show you some of that data, on state tests, for example, I Read 3, I Learn, we used to give the end of course assessment for a diploma. Students are not allowed to use a conversion tool for any of those state tests. You know, it would not be permitted. So the scores that we've gotten have been remarkable. We've had at one school, all the tier 3 kids that use Readable English passed the state I Read 3 test, whereas the kids that were only at a tier 2 did not pass. So it transfers very fast. And what happens is you can stop using the conversion tool with your students at any time you choose. I would recommend that you get them to grade level at least, but you also need to know that we've now got high ability students using this. So we had a student in Needmore Elementary in Bedford that she's in love with the play Hamilton. She wanted to read the book. And so the teachers put it in the conversion tool for her, and she can now read it, and her vocabulary has grown. She has amazing words. I didn't even know what some of the words were she was trying to talk to me about. And she's now also trying to read the Constitution. She's so passionate about it. So what happens is you can get them to grade level, but if you want to continue to grow as they encounter new text, new complex text, new academic vocabulary, they begin to use it for that purpose. Once they have the spelling and the pronunciation correct and they connect it to meaning, they're good. It's in the long-term memory, and that's how they transfer it. They transfer, and then their comprehension improves. Let's see, do we have any more questions that have popped up? Here's a question, or let's see. Glad you made it. Awesome. I'm not sure, it's hard to know if anybody, do we still have everybody on?
There's another question, Tammy. They asked, what reading research is this program based on?
Sure, I can show you some results from some of our studies in the PowerPoint, if you want to go back to that. Yep. And I think if you, yeah, go the other direction.
Trying to find the escape. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so maybe go here. So this is an interesting, wait, no, that's not the right one.
Oh, sorry. Next one.
If you could go back, yeah. I need to see.
Okay, sorry.
No. Oh, wait, oh, that was it right there. That's it right there. That's the one we want. Okay, awesome. Sorry, guys, this is the learning curve with the technology. So this is an example of, we have studies from lots of different schools. We have high school studies, middle school studies, and elementary studies. And what you see here is actually something that happened this school year at an elementary school during COVID. And when you look at this data, this was taken from ExactPath, which was their benchmarking tool that they used in their school district for all the students. So these results are from the beginning of the school year until December when they took it for the second time. And you can see starting at the bottom left, 36.7. These were the students that were non-readable English, and that was their growth. Then you see in the center, the expected growth on ExactPath was 38.5. But on the far right, the students that were using Readable English as a part of the integrated with their regular curriculum grew 61.7%. So the highest growth actually came from those kids that had the opportunity to use the Readable English tool and the conversion tool in their daily work. And this is not unusual. We have lots of other studies just like this one where you get that same impact from letting the students have that opportunity. And again, it's really all the kids. It doesn't have to be just the struggling readers, because we're now seeing a lot of high ability kids advance as well.
Okay, we have another question from Sherry. What grade do you begin this program?
So Sherry, we have for the most part, we like to say start at second grade. You definitely have to know your sounds and your letters to get started. But we do have data from first grade classrooms that started implementing sometimes second semester, and their kids actually outperformed all the other first graders because they had implemented this early from the beginning of the year. It was actually a group of Title I students, and the Title I students who were the lowest at the beginning of first grade, by November, I know this is hard to believe, but the Title I teacher called me and said, hey, the first grade teachers want these kids to come back in the classroom, and they want me to take different kids because these kids are already caught up, which you never actually hear in a Title I program. And we have another first grade program that's getting ready to kick off for next fall. And they are totally going with the standard English lessons inside the Readable English website and using that as their guide and starting with the conversion tool much earlier. Second grade's where we have been recommending, but we've got some first grade opportunities where they're really showing growth.
Okay, another question. Can this be used on middle school students who have been passed forward but still cannot read at grade level?
I'll let Heidi take that.
That would be my students. So I started this last year with a group of students, and we got derailed by COVID. But this year, again, I have students who in my particular class don't have IEPs, but they're, the bottom 25%. So yes, we use this with middle school students.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of growth with middle school students, and Janice's students, actually, we're all middle schoolers as well. On our website, we also have some testimonials from these middle school students where they're explaining they now believe they can read. And it's just shocking to them because for a good part of their school careers, they have felt like failures. And then all of a sudden this changes. And as Janice said, it changes their behavior also, because in the past, they might have been, one of those students that's getting suspended for fighting, all those kinds of behaviors. And then all of a sudden it takes off for them. And then they start to see themselves differently. One of the girls from middle school in Janice's program started volunteering to read out loud in English class, regular ed classes. One day in January, like 3 years ago, my phone started blowing up and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I looked at it, and it was because this young lady that had struggled so much was reading out loud in front of her peers in English class. So it works great for catching kids up.
And I would say because our kids are in middle school, they're going to high school, in 1 or 2 years, right? So we don't have time to go back and relearn all those rules and the exceptions to the rule. With Readable English, that pronunciation's built right in, and we provide them the vehicle to practice using it. And so it gets them, reading at grade level content much faster.
Jody said, thank you for the information, but she was interested in the reading research as opposed to our own research. Do you have any information on research this program was based on? And Paul guided her to the website with some cognitive load theory information and endorsement.
Yes. So another piece of information that might be helpful for her too is that Dr. John Sweller is actually a huge fan of Readable English, and we had a video to show you, but we ran out of time. Dr. Sweller is actually from Australia, and some of you might have heard of him. He has one of our most critical education theories, and he basically is saying that it's the cognitive load theory. And in our brains, if we are trying to process too many things at once, we have cognitive overload. And that's what happens with trying to learn how to read English the way that we have for years, and trying to memorize all those rules and exceptions. It creates a cognitive overload. So we can send this out as well to anyone who would like it, where you can see Dr. Sweller's interview where he's talking about Readable English and how it lessens the cognitive load. He totally sees this as the answer for the reading problem because of that very fact that it's just too hard for anyone to hold that all in memory. If you look at the data for the past 30 years from NAEP, the National Association for Educational Progress, what you will find is that we haven't really gotten that much better over 30 years. We hover around about 30% of our kids in 4th and 8th grade can read proficiently at grade level. That means about 65% for 30 years have not been able to read and comprehend proficiently at 4th and 8th grade. So one could assume that the grades before and in between, they're also struggling. And it just hasn't changed, but it's not the teachers. Teachers are working hard. Kids are working hard, harder than ever. But when you back up and you look at the language has a huge impact on how that all comes to play. And it's a lot. And that's what Dr. Sweller's saying in his study, or in his communication about Readable English.
And Shannon wants to know, does this special apply to homeschool moms?
Yes, sure does, Shannon.
And if this will be recorded to watch later because she logged in late.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's been recorded, and we will offer that to get it out to everybody so you can watch it. We'll send it to everybody who signed up, so you have that to go back to. And then if we could go back to the PowerPoint, I want to put my contact information up as well. There you go. Awesome. So again, my name is Tammy Miller. That's my phone number that you see there, and my email address if you would like to get in touch. If we have any principals, administrators that are looking at an implementation for a school, for a classroom, or for special education population or an EL population, this has proven to be highly successful with those subpopulations that struggle even more with reading. I would be happy to talk with you about some ideas of what you could do to get it off the ground. And again, we do have that special available if you're interested. We'll be sending out communication about how to sign up, where you can have up to 5 free licenses, as well as the 3.5 hours or 3 trainings of 1.5 hours each, along with the coaching. And we wanted to get this going. We really have to start looking at getting kids to grade level in reading all across our country. And that's our movement. We want to get our kids to reading at grade level. And we really believe it can be done. And Readable English can help that happen very quickly. We do have coaching available as well, and we coach alongside teachers to help realize how to integrate this tool with all the other exercises we do to develop good readers, particularly with comprehension. Any other questions, Marianne, that you happen to see?
Will the information for the free trial also be included in the email?
Yes. Yes, we'll be sending that out to everyone who signed up for today.
Okay, I don't see anything else.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I know we've kept you on here about 15 minutes longer than we expected. We had a lot to share. Very grateful to Heidi, one of our amazing teachers that is changing lives, and these kids are learning how to read. Special thank you to Janice and all that she's done for her kids for the past 4 years. Very grateful to them, and grateful to all of you for being on here today. I want to give you a special shout out. I know it's been a tough year. You are nearing the end of that year, but you're all my heroes. Educators to me are just at the heart of what makes us a strong society, a strong country. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for the hard work that you do every single day, and the most important work that I could think anyone could do. So thank you all. We're very grateful to you. Please get in touch. We want to help you. We want to help get your kids reading at grade level. Take care, everybody.